Hi, I'm Carrie Patrick, your host for Eye on St. Lucie. Learning is something that we do throughout our lives. We learn as toddlers, we learn as students, we learn as adults. We learn at home, in school, in social settings, and in reflective settings. We acquire skills, we develop talents, and we learn to develop our emotional understanding and support our relationships. In today's show, we will meet two individuals who are facilitating a unique opportunity for our students. Leslie Taylor is an assistant principal at Fort Pierce Westwood High School, and Debbie Martens is a volunteer at the high school, who both will share how the school is incorporating yoga practices in a variety of settings to support emotional and physical well-being. So ladies, this is a very unique opportunity to discuss something that is innovative in our schools, and we're so happy to have you here to put some clarity on it and share the benefits of your program, yoga, at Fort Pierce Westwood High School with our audience at home. We're going to start by just asking you, Ms. Martens and Ms. Taylor, to please give us a little bit of a history about your role in St. Lucie County and what you're doing to support students in achieving their goals.
Okay, I became acquainted with Westwood through Miss Taylor and through Miss Miller, who is a counselor at the school. They are in one of my yoga classes, and they approached me and asked if I would like to teach at their high school. And I said, yes.
and you're a volunteer at the school.
I am a volunteer,
and
yeah.
you do this because you have a vested interest in your community and students?
Yes,
and
yes.
Just wanted to help.
The kids are important, right? They're our future. So some of them go through more trying times than others, and the ones that are having a tough time, I think yoga really talks to them.
Mm-hmm. And you've been here in this county teaching, making connections in the community for how long?
I have been in this county living in I live in Vero Beach, mm-hmm. and I've been here for about 8 years.
Okay, very good.
I'm originally from Montana.
Right, okay, well,
yeah.
Welcome to the Treasure Coast from Montana.
I love it here. I love it.
Especially this time of year.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ms. Taylor, tell us about you and your role.
So I'm one of the assistant principals at Fort Pierce Westwood, and like Debbie said, like I came to know her through yoga class on Saturday mornings with guidance, and since then a lot of our other faculty members have been attending. We've been recruiting on a regular basis. Ms. Miller and I had spoken about potentially bringing yoga to the campus some time ago, and Mr. Lazo, the principal at Westwood, and I have been speaking about it for a long time as well. When we've been there at the school for 4 years now. And so when we met Debbie and her willingness to just jump in when we explained like the needs of our students and how we thought that, you know, mindfulness and focus and breathing techniques would really benefit them, Monica and I said, you know, our behavior intervention classroom would be a good place to start, and she was all in.
Okay. Well, I think you're hitting upon something because, you know, while students have youth on their side, they are certainly not in any way, shape, or form exempt from the stresses of the world. They have a lot of studying that they're doing. New learning can cause some, you know, anxious moments as you move through extracurricular activities, managing schedules, some work and go to school. So there's a lot to deal with for our students today. And you've kind of brushed upon how this happened, and you were approached by some teachers, but why yoga? Why is that something that we really thought could benefit our students, and how do we put that onto the campus?
Do you want me to start with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So interestingly, you know, Westwood is, we've got the STEAM magnet program that's come on board, and a component of that is social emotional learning. So the staff and the administration, we were talking about what's that going to look like for us. We thought that we needed to do a survey first. So we surveyed the students, and ask them about the things that cause them stress. And then we asked them how they coped with it. And a lot of their strategies were independent things that they did by themselves in their rooms, listening to music, journaling, things of that nature. So yoga just kind of fell into that because it's an independent practice. And I'll let Debbie speak more on that point.
When I came into the big room the first time.
Okay, the big room. All right, let's
behavior.
define
Okay.
it.
Okay, so it's a behavior intervention classroom, and typically what ends up happening is if a student is having a bad day or just a hard moment, and they're typically disrupting the learning environment, we kind of give them a place where they can decompress, and then depending upon the severity of it, they'll re-engage in that day or the next day.
And that's a best practice because our goal is to keep students in school.
Exactly.
And we would much rather give them a little timeout area instead of dismissing them from campus because we want them on our campuses.
Right.
All right, so back to the big room.
Back to the big room. And I walked in and I was introduced to Mr. D, who is, he's basically the caretaker of these students.
He's like the monitor.
He's pretty amazing how he deals with these students. But when I walked in, I didn't know what to expect because I knew that I might run into some anger issues, sadness, maybe like, I don't need to listen to her, you know, who is she? And that first class was absolutely amazing. When I walked in, I have my yoga clothes on, I'm carrying a yoga mat, and they're oh, yoga. what, Mr. D, what's going on here? You know, so anyway, I introduced myself and started talking to the students about how what yoga has taught me, and that's the act of learning about me first and accepting me for who I am and making that okay. I am who I am and I'm good with that. And when you become okay with that, then you're okay with how other people are also. So it's like it's all right for me to be me and it's all right for you to be you. And so that's how I usually enter into it, and that they are the ones that have control over what goes on in their minds and stuff. So, and then we do poses, and I try to challenge them a little bit with some difficult poses. And I'm like, you know, if I can do it, let's try. And they're usually like, whoa, wait, what? No way, you know. And I go, come on, just try. And we got some yoga mats, and they actually enjoy participating. And it's a challenge for them for finding out what their bodies can do. And then throughout the whole process, I continue to talk about what's going on up here.
She is completely understating her impact in that room. When I spoke to Mr. D, Mr. DeSorsis, our BIC monitor, about like the response from the students before and after the yoga takes place, she doesn't come in just like, we're gonna do yoga. She teaches the students about breathing techniques. She teaches them about how to love themselves. She talks to them about how to focus on things that are important in the moment in the day that they can hang on to that are good. And Mr. D has stated on many, many occasions that on days that she comes, he finds that students are actually timing out sooner, and he has less time intervening with them and counseling them to be better. So, I mean, we're seeing impact immediately on those days. It's just, you know, she's coming once a week.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, that's part of our mission as a district is we don't just focus on the academics. There's so much more that goes on in our schools. Our dedicated professionals that are part of the official St. Lucie Public School family, and our wonderful volunteers that we embrace, thanking you for the work that you do. It is about educating the whole child. And we have to, you know, make sure that they're in a good place, that they're well fed, that their well-being is in a positive state, so that they do have the ability to learn at the highest levels. And I think that's also part of the it supports the other things that you all are doing on campus. And, you know, it's just a wonderful little jigsaw piece in that beautiful puzzle that you have. Do you all see that as a positive?
We do, and we actually have noticed with the staff, they're extremely supportive too. In addition to the social emotional initiatives that are coming down within the district at each of the schools, like I had mentioned before, our grant also has a component of it also. So there's we've taken that information that we got from the students from that survey, and we've embedded some additional mindfulness techniques across the campus. So every student has learned how to do a brief self-scan meditation. And when I say students, I mean that the administration teaches the teachers the lesson, and then the teachers take that lesson back to their classrooms once a month and do these lessons. So all of our teachers have learned breathing techniques and focusing strategies, and then they're speaking highly of them and talking positively about how they're impacting how they approach things and staying in the moment, things like that. And then they're further talking about the impact in the classroom. So it's like a domino effect.
And the other thing you mentioned earlier was you took a survey to determine what your students needed, because this is, you know, a unique program. The culture of the school, every school has a thumbprint, and it's what's needed, and it's what is appreciated, and how we foster the overall learning and achievement of our students on the various campus. So, you know, this is a fantastic fit for you, and I know that you spoken about the BIC classroom, but it goes beyond that. So where else on the campuses, because I'm going to expand over to MOA, do you find that this is appreciated?
When I'm at the main campus, I've gone into some classrooms that are honors classes, seniors, juniors, and seniors, and they will actually do a full yoga class with me, very in tune, but they're older, and when I'm in the big room, the students are maybe not a lot of seniors, they're younger.
They're freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah, still trying to make that transition, finding out who they are. And so I'm with different students all the time when I'm on the main campus, and then when I go over to MOA, I'm in the same class every Tuesday, and they're freshmen.
Okay.
And throughout that process, it's been about 5 months now, I've had students, I had just one just the other day that just said, I went to a yoga class. And I was like, wow, you did? Did you like it? He said, yeah, it was pretty cool. And he went because his friend had anxiety, and that his friend's doctor had recommended yoga. And he told her that if you go, I'll go with you. And he said it was pretty cool, and he really enjoyed it. And he just happens to be one of the more attentive students in the class, and he's quite good at it. But for the most part, the kids over at MOA, because they are younger, they're freshmen, and they're still I think they're kind of in awe that they're in high school still, and they are worried about being cool. But when it's just them, and they're all together, and they seem to be pretty good friends, all of them. They know each other well, and they encourage each other, you know, in these different poses and stuff. So yeah, so when I'm working with those students every week, you know, I walk onto the campus and they're changing classes. Hi, Miss Debbie, how are you? You know, hey, it's our yoga teacher, you know, and so that's pretty cool, you know, and they acknowledge that I'm there to teach them yoga as opposed to the main campus. But the main campus, I walk in and sometimes I see students, they're like, hey, Miss Debbie, you know, so the impact is positive, I think, really positive, because these kids, if once they know that they're okay, that it's going to be okay, that they have control over things that are happening in their lives, how to become mindful and how to learn how to control their breath. Like I talk a lot about, especially in the big room, anger, how to control that, and it's through your breathing. When you get angry, tense up, and you start to pant a little bit and your breath is real short, just take that deep, and then you're in control. That whatever was making you angry isn't in control anymore.
So it's interesting. It's very interesting because the student need is a slightly different on both campuses, just because of the environment that she's going into. So on main campus, we spoke about the BIC room. So she does come in contact with a lot of anger, frustration usually, and just how to cope with that and be able to put things behind you and move forward. Whereas the MOA campus, the class that she's been going into is the HOPE classroom, the freshman PE class. And so they're already physically active and they're more amenable to doing the poses and participating physically. But you know, higher achieving students have just as much stress and anxiety as, you know, other students as well. And, you know, MOA is a magnet program, and those kids often have to, you know, learn coping skills also. And this is something that's, I mean, it's free. You can do it by yourself. We promote it, like even just breathing techniques. Like if you're angry in the moment, or, you know, you can even avoid BIC by just asking to go to the restroom and just breathing for 10 minutes, you know, something small to help, you know, manage through the day.
So you're really talking about positive relationships, that emotional and physical well-being of children, and enabling them to stay focused and stay in school, in the classrooms, in order to achieve their optimal levels.
Right. I asked them, what are you going? What are your plans? Where do you want to go when you're done with high school? Where do you want to be? And this one young girl, she says, well, I'm going to college. I said, well, of course you are. I said, but if you keep getting in trouble and end up in the BIC room, that might be a little bit of a deterrent for you, you know, when you try to get into colleges. And what I'm finding is that a lot of these students in BIC are there because of clothing infractions. And so I talked to them about that, and I said, you know, you made that decision to put on that piece of clothing this morning knowing that it's against the dress code. You made that decision to do that. So when you put that piece of clothing on, you literally set yourself up to fail today. If you had made the other decision and put on that other top or different pants or, you know, whatever, a longer skirt, you wouldn't be in here.
Well, you know, we've talked about mindfulness. We've talked about the positive attitude that can, you know, come from some of the techniques that you're talking about. What are some of the other attributes that you've noticed that have been impacted on your overall campus because of this and some of the other programs that you have in place to support students and their behavioral needs as well as their academic needs?
Well, our student achievement has increased, and I don't know if it's correlated or causing it.
Everything we do on campus has an impact on our students.
I personally feel like deliberate attention to our mission statement, which is educating the holistic child, is yielding the results that we're getting at Westwood. We have a lot of great things going on, and we've seen some major transformations in some of our students who, as Debbie mentioned, typically get in more trouble in the freshman and sophomore year, whereas junior and senior, like a light bulb goes off and it's like, oh my goodness, I need to graduate. You know, we've increased our graduation rate this year to 91.7%, which is incredible. And you know, everything plays a role. Our teachers are doing fantastic jobs in the classroom, and these types of things that we're putting in place for our kids just help our students have better relationships with them. It's just the whole package.
And you know, the graduation rate is so very important for students and their future successes as a district. We want to see them reach whatever goals they need in order to be college and or career ready. Some are going to college, some are going to trade school, some are going to service, and some are going straight into, you know, the world of work. We must prepare them, and with that credential of a high school diploma, they have so much more access to opportunities.
Exactly.
And it's like you said, with that comes some stresses. As a senior, I've got to make sure I have my, you know, state credentials as well as my district credentials. I'm here in school. Attendance is so very important. But you know, like you say, along with that, we don't want to have students that are stressed and anxious, we want them to be focused, relaxed, and very purposeful in the steps they take to achieve their goals. So I'm glad that you're seeing that spread throughout, and all of the things that you're doing are working well together. With the goal to prepare students to be college and career ready, we know that there are many things that they can do. So you've brought yoga onto campus. We've got students that have clubs and organizations. Do you see that camaraderie take place as people are experiencing this, and then they're in clubs and organizations? Do you see that thread of, this is what it's doing for me, and that bonding of relationships?
In isolated cases, it's really it's really about what you're looking at the time. So I mean, I wouldn't be truthful if I said that I was observant of every little thing that's going on campus. But there are certain scenarios that do take place, especially with teachers and students, where they share situations that happened in the classroom, or like we just had we call it a Leader in Me program on campus once a month. But we just did the class last Wednesday. So the feedback, like as soon as the teachers did their social circle with their class, they were out in the hallways, and if they see me, they stop me. They make comments about how well it went, or, you know, this is really incredible. I have students that are talking in class and sharing personal information that never did before. You know, and just giving the opportunity for students to be able to speak about personal stuff, and, you know, within the academic setting, on top of some mindfulness techniques. We're just seeing happiness.
All right. So I'm going to springboard off of the mindfulness, because this is something I know that you monitor, because there's the appropriate use of technologies on campus, and in our world, it's not just a school-based, you know, focus, but technology is bombarding us as a group. We need to be able to cope and manage that effectively. Do you see this as an opportunity to help coach students in how to handle time management, and with that immediacy of technology and texting, take a break from some of that, you know, not necessarily a real demand, but we perceive it as a demand to respond?
I'm really glad that you asked that question, because the theme of Wednesday's class across the campus was year-end reflection, and one of the key components that the teachers discussed with the students was, how does your technological use impact the way that you spend your time, and are you willing to make goals to adjust that moving forward, like your use with social media, or how many movies you're watching in a given week on Netflix? And we're a one-to-one school, so our students have these laptops that they're taking home on a regular basis. So this is something that we'd really like for them to harness and control. There's a free app called Moment, and it tracks your usage, like how many times you pick up your phone in a day and how many hours you're actually active in each individual application on your phone. So we've encouraged the students and the staff, all the adults on campus, to put this on their phone. It's a free app, and so that they could actually gather some data to find out how addicted we all really are, because it's hard to make goals when you don't really know the truth about what your usage is. So we are approaching this in a very systematic and deliberate way, but we're just at the beginning of it.
Okay, so the mindset is something that you all are definitely focused on, and having the data to support it is very important.
Right, and Debbie is great with her practice, because what she offers is, once the social media kind of spins out of control and we get some drama in some lives, then what she's bringing to the table can actually decompress that anxiety and stress.
Working on how to deal with it, and the relationships that need to continue and not be dissolved because of a moment in time.
Exactly.
One of the questions I ask when I walk into a new room is, I introduce myself, and then I say, does anyone know what mindfulness is? And there's usually at least one or two that'll go, I know, and they're willing to share, and they're spot on. They know the definition of it, and, you know, to be in the moment, to pay attention to what's going on around you, and that when you're on social media, you're not. You're off somewhere else. And what I find kind of disturbing with a lot of people in general is that we're all on our phones or our iPads, and not paying attention to one another anymore. We don't have conversations. People don't look into each other's eyes and actually have a conversation any longer, and because we're all like this, and we're texting each other rather than talking. So when in the classes, I do mention this, you know, because we're all in that technological thing, and we're like this, and we're all hunched over, and I go, what do you think that's doing to your heart, your lungs? You know, you're just wrapping up inside yourself, and you're not letting yourself expand and become something more. So, you know, so we do talk about that, and I don't know, sometimes it sinks in, and other times it doesn't.
And sometimes we hear something more than once from more than one source, and that makes a difference.
Yeah.
And that's also supporting some of the social skills our students will need as they move out into the world and interact with their future employers in a very positive way, and know when it's appropriate and when it's not to use some of our social media devices. All right. Well, we've had a lot of conversation about things that are beneficial about this unique program that you all have on your campus, and the way students and staff are responding to it. Is there anything that we've missed that you'd like to bring to the table? We have about 2 more minutes.
I was just thinking, it just came to my mind, you know, mindfulness is nothing new. It's been around for a long time, but it really is only in recent years becoming available to minority populations, where you're seeing more minority yoga teachers, instructors, classes that are being offered at university campuses. So, you know, like when you ask the students if they know what mindfulness is, like, there's not a lot of organizations within like our direct community for our students, specifically for Fort Pierce Westwood, that focuses on mindfulness. They have a lot of other great things that are going on, but this is just one way for us to kind of seep it in, and we're finding that the students are really embracing it, and it's not just a fad, you know. The more time we spend learning about our bodies and how they function and what's healthy and nutrition, like, these are things that that benefits every person on the planet, and not to exclude any particular group. So it's very inclusive, and I don't know, I'm pretty pleased with the family that it's bringing together, because more people are just talking about it.
I just want to say real quickly that the staff at Westwood is amazing. The fact that you and Miss Miller invited me to do this in the first place was astounding. Everything that you guys are doing at that school is amazing. You see it. They're in the halls. They're talking to the students, and the students willingly come up to them. They're approachable, and it's just, you know, it's pretty incredible to watch. It's a great thing that's going on there.
Well, I think that what you've done is you're working to meet the needs of your students, and each campus is unique in some of the needs that it may or may not have. And so what we do is we work to make sure that that thumbprint is unique and powerful at each campus. So you've already done one survey to find out what the need is. It'll be interesting to see as you do your closeout survey how students have responded to this. It seems already like you're going to have a very positive response just from hearing some of the anecdotal evidence that you have. I do appreciate both of you taking time to be here today to share this with us and our viewing audience, and we look forward to hearing more about some of the wonderful things that are taking place at the Fort Pierce Westwood campus as it becomes our new STEAM magnet for the county.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm Carrie Patrick, and this is WLX TV. On behalf of the station's team, I would like to thank you for joining us today. That's all for this show, but we invite you to follow us, like us, and watch us on our social media outlets. And as always, keep your eye on St. Lucie.